The stars stretched across the black sky like endless rivers of light. The human ship Soul Dreamer moved quietly toward the alien world called Vereen. Inside, Commander Ryan Hale looked through the viewing window, his eyes filled with both wonder and caution. He had seen many worlds during his years in space, but none had looked like this one. Vereen was covered in oceans of silver and glowing forests that shined even in the dark. Ryan was part of a peace mission sent by Earth's alliance. The humans and the Virenians had been trading partners for 10 years, but this visit was different. It was the first time humans were allowed to visit the Vereen Royal Palace. The purpose was to form a new alliance, one that would protect both sides from the warlike species that lived beyond the Outer Rim. Ryan was chosen not because he was the most powerful, but because he was calm, respectful, and known for solving problems without fighting. Yet as the ship landed, his heart beat faster than usual. "Commander Hale, the Queen's guards are ready to receive us," said Captain Mira, his second in command. Ryan nodded and straightened his uniform. "Remember, we are guests here. No one acts without respect." The doors opened and a soft breeze entered the ship. The air smelled like flowers and metal, warm and clean. Outside stood the Verenians, tall and graceful. Their skin shimmered like crystal glass, shifting in color depending on their mood. Most were silver blue, a sign of calmness. At their center stood a woman whose glow was soft gold. That was Queen Alira of Vereen. Her presence filled the area. Her tall crown was made of glowing vines that moved slightly with the wind. When she spoke, her voice was calm but carried power. "Welcome, people of Earth. We honor your courage to come so far to meet us." Ryan stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, it is an honor. We come in peace and hope to build something greater together." Alira's eyes stayed on him for a moment longer than expected. Her expression was unreadable, but something about her gaze made Ryan forget the words he had prepared. The meeting continued inside the Grand Palace, a structure made of glass-like walls that changed color with sunlight. Inside were glowing fountains, floating symbols, and voices that hummed softly as part of the structure itself. The ceremony began. Alira and her council spoke of unity, shared research, and peaceful defense. Ryan delivered his message clearly, promising Earth's friendship and cooperation. Everything went according to plan, yet he felt a strange pull whenever he looked at the Queen. She was calm but seemed lonely. Her words carried the weight of responsibility, but her eyes showed something deeper. Curiosity, maybe even sadness. After the formal speeches ended, music filled the hall. The instruments were unlike anything humans had seen. They floated in the air, glowing gently as they created sounds like wind and water mixed together. The Verenians began a slow, graceful movement that looked like both dance and meditation. Ryan stood near one of the glass pillars watching them. He didn't expect the Queen to approach him, but she did. "You stand alone while others join the circle," she said softly. Ryan turned and bowed slightly again. "I didn't want to interrupt the tradition. I don't know your customs well." Her lips curved in a light smile. "Sometimes, to learn a custom, one must take the first step." She offered her hand. Her skin was cool but not cold. When he touched it, he felt a small vibration like an invisible wave of energy passing between them. The music changed its tone slightly as if reacting to their contact. The circle around them grew quiet. Even the Vereen guards looked uneasy, but the Queen ignored them. "Your heart is steady, Commander," she said. "Few humans can touch a Vereen and not fear the energy that connects us." "You are not afraid," Ryan smiled carefully. "I am more curious than afraid, Your Majesty. The more I see of your world, the more I realize how much we still have to learn." Her glow brightened slightly, showing interest. "You speak with humility. That is rare among explorers." They talked for a few minutes more about their planets, about stars, and about how both species viewed life and duty. Ryan learned that Alira had ruled since she was 20. Her world had seen wars and loss, yet she managed to lead them into peace. There was strength in her voice, but also loneliness behind her calm tone. As the evening continued, the crowd thinned. Ryan knew he should leave, but he found himself drawn to stay. Alira seemed the same. She asked questions about Earth, about oceans, about human families, and what humans called love. Ryan answered carefully. "Love is when someone's happiness becomes more important than your own." Alira stayed silent for a moment, then said quietly, "That is a strange kind of power." Ryan looked at her with a faint smile. "Maybe the strongest power we have." When the music ended, the Queen stepped back. "You have given me much to think about, Commander Hale. I thank you for your company. He bowed again. The honor was mine, Your Majesty. As he left the hall, he looked back once. She was still standing there watching him. For a moment he thought he saw her glow change to a soft gold again, but then she turned away. That night Ryan couldn't sleep. He walked to the ship's observation deck, staring at the 2 moons of Virene hanging over the horizon. The stars reflected in the palace's glass towers far below. He kept thinking about her words, her voice, and the way the air around her seemed alive. He knew it was foolish to think beyond duty. Human-Virene relationships were not allowed. It wasn't just politics. It was law. Their DNA, their traditions, their lives were too different. But the thought of her stayed in his mind like a soft whisper. He thought about how she had looked when she spoke of love, as if it were something she wanted, but could never have. He felt the same. Maybe that was why they had connected for that short time. 2 beings from different worlds, both trapped by what their titles demanded. He leaned against the cold metal of the viewing glass and whispered softly, I wish I could wed her. He didn't know that the queen stood on her own balcony at that same moment. Her eyes were on the stars, her golden glow faint in the night. Her species had sharper hearing than humans, and the wind carried the faint echo of his voice from the ship nearby. She smiled slightly, her heart warm with a feeling she hadn't known before. The next morning, Ryan woke early, preparing for the next diplomatic session. But as he entered the hall, the royal guards surrounded him. Commander Hale, one of them said, the Queen requests your presence in the inner chamber. Alone. Ryan's pulse quickened. He looked at Mira, who gave him a silent nod. The guards led him through winding halls made of crystalline light until he reached a large door that shimmered like a living flame. When it opened, he found Queen Alira waiting for him. No court, no council, only her. She was dressed in a simple robe of silver light, her crown gone. The room was silent except for the faint hum of energy flowing through the walls. Your Majesty, Ryan began, unsure why she had called him. She looked at him calmly. Commander Hale, last night the wind carried your wish to me. Ryan froze. His face turned pale. I didn't mean for anyone to hear that. It was only a thought, her eyes softened. And yet your heart spoke clearly. He felt lost for words. I am sorry if I offended you, but she shook her head slowly. Offense? Oh, curiosity, yes. You are the first human to speak such words to me. Tell me, Ryan Hale, would you truly wish such a thing if it were possible? He didn't know how to answer. Every rule told him to deny it, but his heart refused. He looked at her glowing eyes and said quietly, Yes, Your Majesty, I would. The Queen's glow turned bright gold, filling the chamber with warm light. She smiled, not as a ruler, but as someone who had just found something precious. Then you shall, she said softly. And with those words, the course of 2 worlds quietly began to change. Ryan stood in silence inside the bright chamber. The light around Queen Alira made her look almost unreal, like a figure born from stars. Her golden glow softened as she looked at him, waiting for an answer he didn't know how to give. He took a slow breath. Your Majesty, what you say cannot be real. You are the ruler of Virene, and I am only a visitor from another world. Alira's calm voice filled the room. Rules are written by people who fear change. Sometimes what seems impossible only waits for courage. Her words felt like fire and peace at the same time. Ryan could not meet her eyes. He had spent years following orders, living by duty, avoiding emotion. Yet this one moment broke through every wall he had built inside himself. Even if I wished it, he said quietly. Such a bond between our worlds is forbidden. The Alliance would never allow it. Then let them see why it must be allowed, she replied. The stars do not follow human law or Virene law. They follow their own truth. Ryan tried to think clearly, but his heart beat faster. Her voice was calm but carried something deeper, hope. She walked closer and the light around her dimmed until it matched the rhythm of his breathing. I heard your wish, she said, her eyes bright. You spoke not as a soldier but as a human with a heart that listens. I have seen many leaders, many faces, but none spoke with such honesty. You reminded me that even rulers can feel. Ryan looked up, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. Your Majesty, I did not mean to speak out of line. I did not mean to bring trouble. Alira's smile was gentle. You have not brought trouble. You have brought truth. Before he could reply, a sound came from the door. It opened, and one of the royal advisors entered. His skin was a dark blue, and his eyes glowed silver with disapproval. "Your Majesty," he said sharply. "The council is waiting. They asked to discuss the human proposals." Alira turned to him. "Tell them I will arrive shortly." The advisor looked from her to Ryan, then bowed stiffly. "As you command." When he left, the Queen sighed softly. "You see," she said, "even my own council fears this. They think humans bring change too fast." Ryan nodded. "They are not wrong to fear. Change can break as easily as it builds." She studied him for a moment. "Do you fear me, Ryan Hale?" He thought about it, then shook his head. "No, Your Majesty. I only fear what others might do if they see us together." Her golden glow flickered faintly. "Then they will have to learn. I will call a private meeting tonight. You will join me there. The council must hear what unity truly means." Ryan felt a chill of worry. "If I stand beside you, it could cause anger." "Sometimes," she said, "anger must come before understanding." He bowed his head. "As you wish, Your Majesty." That night, the grand hall of the Virine Palace was filled with light and color. The council members stood around a floating table of crystal, each face calm but unreadable. When the Queen entered, all bowed deeply. When Ryan entered behind her, whispers moved through the room like wind. Alira raised her hand. "Today we speak not as rulers and guests, but as beings of the same stars. The human commander has shared words that touched me deeply. His world may be different, but his heart beats the same rhythm as ours." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. The oldest among them, Elder Ruhan, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, you honor our guests, but feelings are dangerous when they reach beyond law. Our ancestors made clear that no royal blood shall mix with outsiders. You risk not only your throne, but the trust of your people." Alira met his gaze firmly. "Trust is not built by fear. The humans have shown us friendship, yet we keep them at a distance. I believe there is more to learn from them than trade and science." Ruhan frowned. "And this belief, does it come from wisdom or from one man's words?" Ryan stayed silent, but he could feel every eye on him. He wanted to speak, but Alira raised her hand again. "It comes from the truth, I feel," she said. "We speak of peace, yet our hearts remain locked. If our hearts are divided, how can our worlds be united?" Ruhan's glow turned dark blue, the color of frustration. "The council will never approve this path. It will bring chaos." Alira looked around the table slowly. "Then I will carry that chaos if it brings peace." The room fell silent. Even the air felt heavier. Finally, Elder Ruhan bowed his head slightly. Then the council must think carefully before giving an answer. He left the hall with the others. Alira stood quietly as they walked away. Ryan stepped forward, his voice low. "They will not forget this." "They do not need to," she said. "They only need time." Later, when the hall was empty, Ryan stood near one of the large windows overlooking the shining city below. The towers reflected the twin moons, and the glowing rivers moved like liquid light through the streets. He could not deny how beautiful this world was. Alira walked beside him, her expression calm. "You see why I cannot hide what I feel? My world is full of beauty, yet it has forgotten the beauty of courage." Ryan turned to her. "If your people rise against this, what will happen to you?" "I will still be their queen," she said. "A ruler's strength comes not from being perfect, but from being truthful." He smiled faintly. "You speak like someone who has already made her choice." "I have," she replied softly. "But what about you? Will you stand with me if your own people question you?" Ryan looked at her for a long moment. The thought of Earth's command filled his mind. He could imagine Admiral Pierce's face, the strict rules, the warnings about diplomacy. But none of it seemed as real as the person standing before him. "I will stand where truth stands," he said. A quiet smile touched her lips. "Then we stand together." The next morning, the news spread faster than light. Across the Virine capital, voices filled the streets. Some spoke of betrayal, others of hope. The glowing lights on the building shifted in colors that showed confusion and surprise. In the human base, Captain Mira confronted Ryan. Her tone was serious, but not angry. "Do you know what this means? Earth Command already sent a message. They want you to return to the ship until this situation is cleared." Ryan nodded. "I understand. Do you?" she asked. "Because this could end your career. They say you've gone beyond your mission role, that you've broken protocol." Ryan looked down.
"Maybe I have."
"But sometimes following the book means losing the truth." Mira sighed. "You always were too honest for politics." Then her voice softened. Just be careful, Ryan. People fear what they do not understand. I will, he said. When she left, Ryan looked out at the sky again. The two moons were setting, and the golden light of Verine's sun rose slowly. Somewhere beyond those glowing towers, Alira was likely facing her council again. He couldn't shake the memory of her words. Rules are written by people who fear change. She was right. Every great step in history began when someone broke a rule for a greater cause. Later that day, an unexpected message arrived. A Verine guard came to Ryan's quarters with a silver sphere that glowed faintly. When Ryan touched it, the sphere opened and projected Alira's image. Her voice filled the room. Ryan Hale, the council has called for a final vote tonight. They wish to decide my fate. If I lose, they will end my rule. If I win, they will allow a new bond between our worlds. I want you to be present. Come to the crystal hall when the second moon rises. The message ended and the sphere dimmed. Ryan stood still for a long time. He knew attending that meeting could mean the end of his career and possibly his freedom. Yet he also knew he couldn't turn away. That night, the second moon rose over Verine, painting the palace in pale silver. Ryan walked through the glowing corridors, guided by silent guards. The crystal hall was filled with light and faces from across the planet. When he entered, the queen was already standing at the center. The council members surrounded her, their glowing skins shifting with emotion. Commander Hale, Alira said softly. Thank you for coming. He nodded. Always, Your Majesty. Elder Ruhan stepped forward. Before we vote, we must hear from the human. Tell us, why should we accept a bond that breaks every rule of our history? Ryan looked at all of them. He could feel their judgment, but also their curiosity. He took a deep breath. Because, he said, peace built on fear never lasts. Only when we learn to trust across our differences can we find true strength. Queen Alira showed me what courage means. If her people can see what I see, they will never fall to hate again. The hall grew quiet. The council members looked at each other. The air seemed to shimmer as they began their silent vote. When it ended, Elder Ruhan turned to Alira. The council is divided. We will need more time. Ryan looked at the queen, unsure whether to feel relief or worry. She turned to him with a calm smile. Time, she said softly, is all we need. And though the council remained uncertain, a new light of hope had begun to rise between two worlds. The next morning, the skies over Verine glowed silver with clouds that reflected sunlight like mirrors. The entire capital felt tense. Rumors had spread across every district that the queen had defied the council. Some said she had lost her mind. Others said she had fallen under a human spell. Yet among the younger Verinians there was excitement and curiosity. Commander Ryan Hale woke early in his guest quarters inside the human embassy. He had not slept much. He had spent the night thinking about the vote, the Queen's words, and the uncertain look on the Council's faces. The message from Earth Command still echoed in his communicator, ordering him to stay out of Verine politics. But it was too late. He was already part of it. When Captain Mira entered the room, her face was serious. Ryan, the situation is growing worse. The Verine Council is divided. Some support the Queen's choice, but others are demanding her removal. Ryan rubbed his forehead. Do they plan to force her out? Mira nodded. That is what the reports say. There's a man named General Tharuk. He leads most of the military forces. He believes humans are dangerous and he wants to take control if the Queen refuses to obey tradition. Ryan stood up quickly. If Tharuk takes over, the alliance will collapse. He'll push for war. Exactly, Mira said. And that means Earth Command will have no choice but to defend itself. Ryan's chest tightened. We can't let that happen. The Queen needs protection, not orders. Mira gave him a long look. Be careful. You're walking on dangerous ground. If you go against Earth Command, you'll be alone. Ryan didn't answer. He simply looked out the window toward the royal palace shining in the morning light. Somewhere inside those tall glass towers, Alira was likely facing her council again, standing alone against the storm. Inside the palace, Queen Alira sat at the head of the council table. Her glow was calm, but her eyes showed that she had not slept either. The council members argued around her, their skin tones changing with emotion, blue for worry, red for anger, silver for confusion. General Tharuk stood near the entrance, tall and broad, his dark silver armor shining under the light. Your Majesty, he said in a loud voice, the people are restless. The military cannot control every protest. They say their queen has chosen an outsider over her own kind. Alira looked at him steadily. And do you say the same, General? Tharic smiled coldly. I say a ruler must lead with logic, not emotion. A human may be our friend, but he is not one of us. If you continue this path, you will break the unity we have built. Elder Ruhan spoke softly from his seat. General Tharic is not wrong. The people are uncertain. Perhaps it would be wise to slow this decision until peace returns. Alira's voice stayed calm. If I stop now, I will teach them to fear what they do not understand. That is not peace. That is silence. Tharic's silver eyes hardened. Then you leave me no choice but to prepare for what must come. If the queen refuses the will of her people, she cannot expect their loyalty. The queen rose from her seat slowly. The glow around her grew brighter. Are those words of warning or threat, General? Tharic bowed slightly but did not hide his smile. A warning, Your Majesty. For now. He turned and left the hall, his guards following him. The silence that followed felt heavy. Elder Ruhan looked at Alira. He will not stop with words. Be careful, my queen. I know, she said quietly, but we cannot build truth on fear. That evening, Ryan received a secret message. The sender was marked as unknown, but the voice that came through the small device was familiar. It was Elder Ruhan. Commander Hale, the voice said, the queen is in danger. General Tharic plans to accuse you of treason and claim you have used your technology to control her. He means to remove her by force. Ryan's hands tightened. What can I do? Meet her in the Crystal Garden before midnight, Ruhan said. It is the only place where the council's eyes cannot reach. Ryan nodded even though the call had already ended. He waited until the city's lights dimmed and the sky turned violet under the twin moons. Then, wearing a dark cloak to avoid attention, he left the embassy quietly. The streets were filled with whispers, and the glowing lights of Vereen flickered like nervous fireflies. When he reached the Crystal Garden, it was silent, except for the soft hum of the glowing plants. The vines shimmered in blue and green, wrapping around tall crystal trees that seemed to breathe with light. Ryan, a familiar voice said. He turned and saw Queen Alira standing near a small pond that reflected the moons. Her face looked tired but calm. You should not be here, she said softly. Tharic's men are everywhere. I came because Ruhan warned me, Ryan said. He says Tharic plans to remove you. Alira nodded. Yes, he has been waiting for this chance. He wants to take control of the throne and end the human alliance. Ryan stepped closer. Then we must stop him. We have to show both our governments that his lies are dangerous. Alira looked at the glowing water. There is one way. There is an ancient code in our archives. It says if the queen forms a soul bond witnessed by her chosen partner, her rule cannot be questioned until both parties stand before the Great Council. It is a symbol of unity stronger than law. Ryan frowned. Soul bond? You mean like marriage? In your words, yes, she said. But it is not only a promise. It connects our energy for life. It is sacred, Ryan took a slow breath. If we do that, both of us will face great risk. Earth Command will see it as interference, and your people may see it as betrayal. Her golden eyes met his, and yet it may be the only way to save peace. Ryan felt his heartbeat in his chest. Then I will stand with you, whatever comes. A faint smile touched her lips. Then let it be so. She placed her hand over the pond, and a golden circle of light formed between them. The garden around them began to hum as if the plants themselves were singing. Ryan reached out and placed his hand over hers. The golden light spread through both of them, bright and warm, until it filled the entire space. For a moment he saw images flash before his eyes, stars, oceans, faces of people, both human and Vereen. He felt her thoughts, her fears, her hopes. She felt his memories, his loyalty, his pain. When the light faded, they both stepped back. The air felt different, filled with quiet power. It is done, she said softly. We are bound. But before they could speak again, a sudden explosion shook the ground. The crystals trembled and a wave of heat rolled through the garden. The sound of metal boots echoed from the distance. Guards, Alira whispered. Tharic has found us. Ryan pulled her behind a large stone wall as soldiers in dark armor stormed into the garden. The leader's voice was cold and sharp. Search every corner. The queen has been taken by the human. Ryan looked at Alira. He's framing me, she nodded. He planned this well. They moved quietly through the glowing vines, trying to stay hidden. The soldier's armor glowed red, scanning the area with light beams. When one beam passed near them, Ryan held his breath. The soldier stopped, but before he could call out, Alira raised her hand. A pulse of golden energy rippled through the air, and the soldier fell unconscious. "Come," she whispered. "We must reach the southern tunnels. They lead to the outer forest." They ran silently through the hidden passages beneath the garden. The tunnels glowed faintly with blue light, made long ago by the ancient Vereen builders. As they reached the exit, they heard Tharok's voice echoing behind them. "Run if you wish, but your people will see the truth. The queen is lost, and the human is her curse." Alira stopped for a second, her eyes fierce. "He will not win," she said quietly. "Not while we live." Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll fight together." They stepped out into the dark forest beyond the city walls. The trees were tall and filled with shining veins that pulsed like stars. The night air smelled of rain and metal. Behind them, the capital lights glowed faintly while the sound of alarms spread across the sky. The queen looked back once, then turned toward the deeper woods. "They will hunt us," she said. "But in the wilds there are old allies who still honor the truth." Ryan nodded. "Then we find them, and we take back your throne." As they walked into the glowing forest, the stars above seemed to shimmer brighter, as if watching over the two who dared to unite their worlds. And far behind them, in the capital of Vereen, General Tharok smiled coldly from the palace balcony. His plan had begun, but he had underestimated one thing: the power of a human heart and the strength of an alien queen who refused to surrender. Ryan and Queen Alira moved through the glowing forest under the silver night sky. The air was filled with the soft hum of Vereen's strange plants. Their leaves shimmered with blue light, and small floating creatures buzzed around them, lighting the path like tiny lamps. The world looked peaceful, but Ryan knew danger was near. The Queen's guards had fallen back to confuse the searchers, but Tharok's soldiers were close. He could hear the distant hum of their flyers. Alira walked beside him, her robe torn at the edge, her glow dim but steady. "They will find us soon," she said calmly. Her voice did not show fear, only quiet strength. Ryan looked at her and felt something powerful. This woman was not just a ruler. She was willing to risk everything for love and peace. "We will find proof," Ryan said, trying to sound brave. "Once we expose Tharok, the people will know who started this war." Alira nodded. "Yes, but we must reach the old temple first. It holds the crystal records of the council meetings. Tharok cannot erase them." They moved deeper into the forest. Ryan's arm throbbed from the wound he got during the explosion, but he didn't stop. Alira noticed and pressed her palm to his skin. A warm light flowed from her hand. The pain began to fade. "Your body heals slower than ours," she said softly. "You must be careful." Ryan smiled faintly. "I'll heal faster if you keep doing that." She looked at him with gentle eyes. "I will, as long as you stay alive." Hours passed. The forest opened to a wide valley filled with glowing mist. In the distance, the ancient temple of the first Vereen king stood tall, built of white stone that shimmered in moonlight. Its towers looked cracked and old, but Ryan could see power pulsing through its walls. Suddenly, a flash of light cut the sky. A ship descended nearby. Ryan pulled Alira behind a rock. Soldiers in black armor landed, their weapons glowing green. "Tharok's men," Ryan whispered. "They must have tracked us." Alira's eyes hardened. "Then we end this here." They ran toward the temple. Blasts of energy struck the ground behind them. The air smelled of burnt dust. Ryan dove to the side as a beam grazed past him. He rolled and fired his small human blaster, hitting one of the soldiers in the chest. The alien fell, armor smoking. Alira raised her hand and a wave of golden energy burst from her, pushing the attackers back. Inside the temple, it was quiet again, except for their footsteps echoing through the marble halls. Ancient carvings glowed faintly on the walls, telling stories of the Vereen people and their first contact with other worlds. Ryan felt the air vibrate. "This place is alive," he said. Alira nodded. "It remembers everything." The records are stored in the crystal chamber ahead. They reached a round room filled with tall crystal pillars. Light flowed through them like rivers of color. Alira touched one pillar and an image appeared in the air. It showed Tharok speaking to other council members, planning the attack that blamed humans for the explosion. Ryan's heart pounded. "We have proof," he said. "This will clear our names." But before they could react, the temple doors burst open. Tharek entered with more soldiers. His tall figure glowed with cold blue light. "Did you really think you could run, my queen?" he said with a mocking smile. "You bring shame to your crown and your people." Ryan stood in front of Alira. "You're the one bringing shame," he shouted. "You tried to start a war." Tharek laughed. "A war would have made us stronger. Humans are weak. They rely on machines and fragile hearts." Alira stepped forward, her glow turning bright gold. "You are wrong, Tharek. Strength is not born from hate. It grows from unity." Tharek raised his weapon. "Then unity dies with you." Before he could fire, Ryan activated his wrist beacon. It sent a signal to orbit, broadcasting the temple's crystal recordings to both human and Vereen channels. "Everyone knows the truth now," he said. "You lose, Tharek!" Tharek roared in rage and fired. The beam struck Ryan in the shoulder, throwing him to the ground. Alira cried out, kneeling beside him. Her hands glowed again, sealing the wound. But Tharek was already moving closer. Ryan pushed himself up, ignoring the pain. "You wanted war, Tharek? Then face me." He charged, using a fallen blaster to block Tharek's strike. Sparks filled the air as human steel met alien energy. The two fought across the chamber, their movements echoing in the ancient hall. Alira joined the fight, her power shining brighter with every strike. Tharek tried to overpower her, but her energy waves grew stronger. "You think love weakens me," she said. "But it makes me more than you can ever be." A burst of light exploded from her hands, throwing Tharek against the wall. His weapon fell and shattered. The golden light surrounded him, trapping him like glass. He struggled to speak. "You will destroy our people by trusting him." Alira looked at him calmly. "No, Tharek. I will save them by trusting both worlds." Guards from both sides arrived minutes later, following the broadcast signal. They found Tharek defeated and the Queen standing tall beside the human she had chosen to protect. The crystal records were still glowing, proof of his crimes floating above them. When Tharek was taken away, Ryan finally let out a breath. His arm trembled from pain, but he smiled at Alira. "You could have killed him," he said quietly. "I am not here to destroy," she replied. "I am here to heal." The temple fell silent again, filled with soft golden light. Ryan and Alira stood together side by side, watching the first dawn rise over the valley. The twin suns of Vereen rose slowly, painting the sky in red and blue. Ryan turned to her. "What will happen now?" Alira's voice was calm. "The council will have to face the truth. They will see that our bond did not bring chaos. It brought light." Ryan nodded. "But will they let you stay queen after all this?" She smiled. "If they remove me, then I will serve in another way. My people need hope, and you helped me show them that hope is not limited by form or world." Ryan took her hand gently. "You risked everything for me." Alira looked into his eyes. "You risked everything for truth. That is what made me believe in you." They walked out of the temple together. The forest shimmered with new life, as if the world itself was celebrating the end of darkness. Above them, the human ships hovered in peace, no longer enemies but witnesses to something greater. For the first time since his arrival, Ryan felt he truly belonged. The bond between them was more than emotion. It was a bridge between species, something that could change the future of both races. When they reached the clearing, Alira stopped and turned to him. "This is not the end, Ryan. The council will question us. Many will fear what we have done." Ryan smiled softly. "Then we'll face them together." She nodded. Together. In the distance, the palace lights glowed once more, signaling peace. The stars above seemed brighter, as if the universe itself approved of what they had done. That night, as they traveled back, Ryan looked up at the stars and thought of how far he had come. He was no longer just a visitor on a strange world. He was part of its story now, bound by courage, truth, and something stronger than any law. Queen Alira sat beside him, her golden light steady and warm. She whispered, "You have changed the heart of my world, Ryan." He looked at her and smiled. "And you've changed mine." The ship carried them back toward the capital, where the final test awaited them both, the choice of love over fear, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, two hearts from different worlds could truly become one. The sun rose over the Vereen capital in golden light. The twin moons were fading, leaving the sky painted with soft colors of dawn. The streets glimmered with reflective stones, and the glowing plants along the avenues shone faintly, celebrating a quiet promise of peace. Ryan Hale and Queen Alira prepared to face the final challenge together. the council's decision and the future of their bond. The palace was alive with movement. Guards and officials filled the corridors, all whispering about the events of the past nights. Soldiers who had followed Tharic's orders were now being questioned, and records from the temple confirmed his plans. The citizens had heard the broadcast from Ryan's signal. The truth could no longer be hidden. Ryan walked beside Alira, his hand gently brushing hers. The golden glow from her aura mixed with the morning light, creating a warmth that touched his very heart. "Are you ready?" he asked. Alira turned to him, her calm eyes filled with determination. "I have waited for this moment. No one can stop what is true. Not now, not ever." Together they entered the grand council hall. The room shimmered with tall crystal pillars and walls of pure light. Every council member was present, their expressions a mix of anger, fear, and awe. Elder Ruhan stepped forward first, his silver glow softening as he looked at the two of them. "Your Majesty, Commander Hale," he said, "we have received the evidence. Tharic's plans are clear. The people have seen it and the council must decide." The members murmured among themselves. Some faces glowed red, the color of anger. Others shone pale blue, a sign of hesitation. But Alira remained calm, her golden aura steady. She raised her hand, signaling the room to silence. "This council," she began, "was created to protect our people. Today you see a truth that cannot be denied. I have formed a bond with a human because the future of our world and theirs must be united. Love and trust are not bound by rules written by fear. They are bound by the courage of the heart." Ryan stood by her side, feeling the weight of the room's attention. He could see the tension in the soldiers' postures and the shifting colors of council members' skin. Some looked ready to oppose, others were unsure. He took a deep breath and spoke. "I came to Vireen as a guest, not a ruler. But what I have seen here is something greater than rules. Queen Alira has risked everything for the truth, and I choose to stand with her. This bond is not just for us. It is for the people of our worlds. Unity is stronger than fear." A silence filled the hall. Every being present could feel the energy between them, the bond they had formed. Alira's glow mingled with Ryan's aura, creating a wave of warmth that filled the entire room. The council members felt it. Hesitation softened into understanding, anger shifted into thoughtfulness. Elder Ruhan stepped forward, his voice steady. "The bond has been witnessed. The proof is clear, and the hearts of both humans and Virenians see truth in this unity. The decision is no longer ours alone. It is written in the stars, and the people will carry it forward." One by one, the council members nodded, their glow softening. Even the harshest voices fell silent. Alira's gaze remained calm but proud. "Then let this day mark a new era, one where fear does not rule, and where the hearts of two worlds may beat as one." The hall erupted in light as both human and Vireen representatives cheered. Ryan felt a rush of joy as he saw soldiers lowering their weapons, citizens smiling, and council members stepping forward in respect. Alira turned to him, her eyes warm. "We did it," she said. "Peace is no longer just a word. It is alive," Ryan smiled, "and it is because we stood together." After the council hall, the Queen called for a ceremony to celebrate the union. The first dual ceremony, as it would be called, was prepared in the palace's grand garden. Flowers and glowing plants were arranged in patterns that mirrored the constellations of Vireen. Streams of water reflected the sunlight, and small floating lights danced above the paths. Citizens from all over the capital gathered. Humans had come from the embassy, curious and respectful, and Virenians from every district arrived to witness history. Ryan and Alira stood at the center of the garden. The ceremony began with the reading of the crystal records. The story of Tharic's betrayal, the flight through the forest, and the bond formed in the temple was shared with everyone. The crowd listened in awe and respect. Then Alira spoke. "This bond is not only ours, it is a promise to our worlds. That despite fear, despite rules, we may choose truth and courage. Today we unite not as separate beings but as partners in life and peace." Ryan stepped forward. "I choose to stand with her and with her people. My world has seen what is possible when hearts and minds come together. This is our chance to build something stronger than any law." The energy between them pulsed again. This time it was brighter than ever, reaching every corner of the palace grounds. People gasped, feeling the bond in their hearts. When the ceremony ended, the Queen and Ryan walked together through the garden. Children ran around touching the glowing flowers. Citizens smiled and greeted the humans in warm tones. It was a day of joy, not only for the union but for the hope it brought. Alira turned to Ryan as they walked along the crystal path. "Do you feel it?" she asked softly. "The world has changed today." Ryan looked around at the glowing streams, the laughing children, and the peaceful citizens. "I do, and it is only the beginning." They reached a terrace overlooking the city. The twin suns were setting, casting soft light on the shining towers. Ryan took her hand gently. "I remember the night I whispered my wish. I never imagined it would come true like this." Alira smiled, her golden glow reflecting in his eyes. "And I never imagined that a human could touch my heart as you have. You reminded me that even a queen must follow her feelings when truth calls." They stood quietly, watching the sunset. The city below them hummed with life and promise. Ryan realized that Vereen was no longer just an alien world. It was a part of him, and he of it. The next days were filled with celebrations and planning. The humans and Virenians worked together to strengthen trade, defense, and cultural exchange. Ryan and Alira's bond became a symbol for unity. Every corner of the capital showed signs of hope, peace, and friendship. Tharuk and his loyalists were taken to a secure area where their actions could no longer harm the queen or the people. The council restructured some of its rules, making clear that courage, truth, and love could guide decisions as strongly as law. Ryan found himself walking through the palace gardens often. Alira was always beside him, discussing plans for their world, sharing stories, or simply enjoying the glow of the trees and streams. He had never felt so alive. One evening, as the twin moons rose once more, Alira turned to him. "Do you remember the first time we met?" she asked. Ryan smiled. "How could I forget? You glowed even then, and I knew I was in trouble." She laughed softly, a sound like wind over water. "You whispered something that night." He laughed nervously. "I did. I never thought anyone would hear it." Her eyes met his, golden and full of warmth. "I did, and I chose to make it real." "Then you shall, my heart." Ryan felt a rush of joy. He took her hand and held it firmly. "And I always will." The palace lights glowed softly, the city hummed, and above them the stars watched silently. Two worlds had been changed, not by force or war, but by courage, truth, and the simple choice to follow the heart. As they stood together, Ryan knew this was only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, but they would face them united. Vereen and Earth were no longer just neighbors in the galaxy. They were partners, friends, and now, in a way that mattered most, family. The twin moons reflected in their joined hands. The first bond of human and Verenian was complete, a symbol of hope for all. And in that moment, Ryan whispered softly, not to himself, but to the universe, "I am home." Alira smiled and squeezed his hand. "And you will always be." My heart. The light of the palace, the gardens, and the people around them seemed brighter than ever, as if the stars themselves were celebrating the union of two hearts, two worlds, and the hope that humanity could reach beyond fear to touch the infinite.